So the state of New York is preemptively amending its laws in anticipation of losing the Supreme Court concealed carry case, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think it's time for the Supreme Court to once again uphold our right to keep and bear arms, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. I also want to give a shout out to one of the main supporters of the channel, which is USCCA. Through your membership, you get training, education, and self-defense liability protection. So if you carry a firearm, I highly recommend you take a look into USCCA, and I'll put a link to them down in the details section. Also, I want you to know that this content is powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. So head on over to joinfpc.org to help support the Second Amendment cause. Thank you again, Firearms Policy Coalition, for supporting this channel. So like I said in the intro, in this video, I want to talk about how the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen Supreme Court concealed carry case has just resulted in the state of New York trying to preemptively change their laws. The state of New York has introduced a new bill, A08684, which seeks to prohibit firearms in certain locations, including on all forms of public transportation, large gatherings, and food and drink establishments in the state of New York. It appears that after listening to the oral arguments before the Supreme Court in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case, the state of New York is trying to amend its laws in anticipation of a favorable Second Amendment decision going in our favor and going against the state of New York's concealed carry restrictions. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what's going on in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen case, or you don't understand why this case is so important, let me explain real quick. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association is a challenge to the state of New York's concealed carry permit requirements. The state requires a person to provide proper cause to be issued a permit to carry concealed. The issue is that the state does not consider self-defense a proper cause, and therefore on that justification alone, people have their concealed carry permits denied. Essentially, a person has to distinguish themselves from the average person to be granted a permit to carry concealed. So the whole question in this case is whether the state of New York violated the Second Amendment with their may issue licensing scheme that does not treat self-defense as a sufficient justification for a permit to be granted to someone. Now, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in this case, which is very important because it is one of the first Second Amendment cases that the Supreme Court has heard and will likely rule on in a very long time. For reference, there are really only about 4 Supreme Court decisions that touch directly on Second Amendment issues. Those cases are Miller, McDonald, Catano, and the landmark case Heller. Since there is just a handful of cases the Supreme Court has decided on, the area of Second Amendment law just really hasn't been fully fleshed out. This resulted in a lot of lower courts having essentially the free rein to run amok and make up rules and decisions as they go. What this often means is that liberal leaning circuit courts like the Ninth Circuit in states like California and New York always shaping their rulings so that the Second Amendment violations that a state implements is given a green light. With this decision in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case, however, a lot of these prior cases are in jeopardy, and even more directly, the state of New York's concealed carry restrictions are directly in jeopardy in this case because that is what's at issue. Now, during oral arguments in this case, many of the justices asked about whether or not a state could restrict concealed carry in so-called sensitive places. Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and even Amy Coney Barrett appeared to hint at that they believe a state may be able to restrict the concealed carry in sensitive or highly populated areas, and they asked questions in this regard. They even made a joke about restricting concealed carry on the NYU campus. Since the school, the NYU campus, I guess, does not actually have a campus, it's just within the city of New York. And so they were talking about, well, could you restrict carry on that campus when they don't actually really have a campus? In reaction to these discussions and concerns that the Supreme Court will likely rule in favor of the right to carry concealed, the state of New York has introduced a new bill. The bill is A08684. So I'm going to read to you what this bill seeks to do in the state of New York, and then we're going to talk about why they're trying to do this. It states a person is guilty of criminal possession of a firearm when he or she knowingly has in his or her possession a rifle, shotgun, or firearm in or upon the following locations. And then they specifically identify various locations. They state any form of public transportation, including but not limited to railroads, ride-sharing services, paratransit services, subways, buses, air travel, taxis, or any other public transportation services. They also state food and drink establishments or large gatherings which for the purposes of this section means a gathering together of 15 or more persons for amusement, athletic, civic, dining, educational, entertainment, patriotic, political, recreational, religious, social, or other similar purposes. So that is the main language that is trying to be added into the state of New York's law to restrict the possession of firearms in a variety of locations, in all of those specifically and kind of broadly named locations. So essentially the state of New York wants to make it illegal, despite the fact that you may have a concealed carry permit, to have that firearm if you go on various things like public transportations, like subways in New York, if you take a taxi, or if you take maybe an Uber or Lyft. And in reality, these locations like subways or maybe even taxis are the type of areas where maybe high crime is actually happening in these cities, and maybe actually the area where you want to have a firearm to defend yourself just in case something happens. The state of New York also wants to restrict you from carrying at any restaurant you may want to go to, any place where maybe you get food or maybe you get a drink, and you can't carry if you want to go to church, and you can't carry if you want to go to the movies, and you can't carry on schools or other educational grounds, or in reality, you can't carry anywhere where you go where maybe it's considered a social gathering, and that location may have 15 or more people. Any area that has 15 or more people essentially is broadly prohibited from you carrying. And again, in this proposed bill, I do not see anywhere where it says that these restrictions do not apply to those who have concealed carry permits. Instead, it is a blanket possession ban in these locations. This is an attempt by the state of New York to preemptively attempt to circumvent any favorable Supreme Court ruling that may come in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case. The state thinks that they can play off of some of the discussion that happened during oral arguments and try to circumvent maybe what the Supreme Court will rule by implementing this new law. The state of New York will argue that this is only creating a restriction in sensitive places or highly populated places, but in reality, it creates a blanket possession ban because all of these locations are critical to a person in their everyday life. If you want to take a taxi, or if you want to ride the subway, or you want to take an Uber, well, you can't take your firearm with you, or you can't do those activities. If you want to go eat or get something to drink, you either can't carry or you can't engage in those activities. If you want to go to church, or if you want to go hang out with some friends in a kind of densely populated area, you have to choose whether or not you want to go or whether or not you want to carry. So they kind of put you in this situation where likely to engage in these everyday activities, you can't carry because if you do, you are considered to be a felon under this law. This bill is nothing more than a backdoor attempt to create a blanket carry ban in the state of New York. And this is being done because the state of New York can see on the tea leaves right now that the Supreme Court will be coming down against them in their concealed carry laws. So if you're in New York, I would highly recommend you spread the word about this bill, contact your representatives and let them know you do not agree with what this bill is trying to do, and you understand what they're actually trying to do, and what they're trying to do is preemptively circumvent any Supreme Court ruling. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Al Gore's rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough for everybody who's liked, commented, subscribed, who's hit the notification bell, who shared these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me to reach more people than I could have ever thought. Again, thank you guys so much for all of your support. It's been absolutely amazing to build this community with you guys, to share this information, and to really just spread the word about what is actually going on in our nation and in our various states as well. So if you guys don't have a comment in mind, just comment down below, just comment to fuel the algorithm. And also if you're a new subscriber or you're a longtime lurker and you recently subscribed, go ahead and comment down below that you're a new subscriber and I will make sure I comment back to you. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this is Built by Armed Scholars, the station where we maintain by armed scholars.